Welcome again to the Old Principle. I am the Old Principle, and we have a little bit of English, a little bit of instruction, and a lot of, well, I think is interesting. Actually, today's is an actual historical event. So we're going to look at it. First of all, let's take a look at the picture for what we have. This is called the Behistun Rock. Okay, so you've got something way up there, and Diaosu, okay? These are sculptures way high up on the mountain, and we're going to be talking about this person, Henry Rawlinson. Henry Rawlinson. But before we do that, must remind you again, this is number 167. And with that, let's listen as the story is read to us. Be back in a moment.
Story 167, The Behistun Rock. Henry Rawlinson, a British Army officer, led his troops through the Zagros mountain range in Persia, modern-day Iran. They set up camp at the town of Behistun. Nearby, an ancient king of Persia had carved a huge sculpture on a cliff, 75 feet wide and 45 feet high. He had also written the story about the picture using 3 kinds of ancient writings, one of which was in the language of long-forgotten Babylon. This was a great opportunity, and Rawlinson was excited. He enjoyed ancient languages and realized that he was the first European to see this. At the first opportunity, Henry began to examine the cliff. He wanted to get up there and copy the inscriptions. Just below the writing was a ledge only 14 inches wide, but it was 850 feet above the ground. While Henry's regiment went about their work, he had some of his soldiers help him climb up to the ledge, and he began copying the writings. It was a daring feat to work so high above the ground, 85 stories up. When he worked on the writings that were higher up, he put up a ladder on the narrow ledge. But he had to use a swing let down from above in order to copy the highest portion. In between his army duties, he spent parts of the next 4 years in making a copy of the inscriptions. All this time risking his life from falling into the chasm below. But Henry was not finished even after he had copied the writings. He worked most of the next 18 years on deciphering them. And he did most of his work out in the field without the aid of reference books. When he finished deciphering the rock, he had unlocked for the world the cuneiform writing of ancient Babylon. Before this, the history of Babylon was known only from the Bible.
Welcome back, or I should welcome myself back, and here we go with the Behistun Rock. Henry Rawlinson, you just saw his picture just a couple minutes ago. Henry Rawlinson was a British Army officer, 军队的军官, okay? But there's an 英国军队, British Army officer, and he led his troops, 军团. Okay, it doesn't say how big a troop is. In America, a troop is a certain number of people and so on, but he led his troops through 经过一个山脉, okay, the Zagros mountain. Okay, now, up to this point, we have no idea where this is. We just know the person. We know his background. He's a British Army officer. What else do we know about him? We know that he is leading his 军队, okay, 他军团, his troops, okay, in what used to be called Persia, 波斯, okay, 古时代名叫波斯, and now 现代是叫伊朗. So now we know where we are looking at. So the background, Beijing, we have already said, and now we can go into this story and see what he did. This is a little like a story not too long ago I told about the Rosetta Stone, only this is a little bit different and a little bit scary. Okay, going on. They set up camp. To set up camp is 扎营. They set up camp at the town of Behistun. So this is the town. 城市的名字是 Behistun. Okay, and after they set up camp, then what are they going to do? Going on. Nearby was an ancient king of Persia. Okay, Persia is a 波斯. Okay, 王, 古时代波斯王. Okay, he had carved a huge sculpture up on a cliff. Okay, now how big was this sculpture? It was 75 feet wide. That's quite a large, okay, 雕塑. Okay, 雕刻 is to cut or make, carve, in this case, carve a sculpture, okay, and it is 75 feet wide. So it's quite wide. It's quite wide, this 雕塑, okay, the sculpture, and 45 feet tall. Okay, so it's up on a cliff. Where is this? A cliff, 悬崖. The minute you talk about cliff, what do you think about? I don't think I want to do that. That's a long, long ways up. 很危险. I have been on some cliffs, and I can say that I wasn't enjoying myself. So 非常非常可怕. I mean, you just don't, what can you say? You don't feel comfortable because of being up high. This king had also written the story about the picture. So he had written the story, so he's got the picture, he's got the sculpture, 这个雕塑, it's up there. And so now, what's the story? I mean, if you have a picture, if you have a sculpture, and it's up there, it's 75 feet wide, 45 feet tall, and you say, excuse me, what's the picture all about? And he wrote it in 3 different languages. 1, 2, 3. 3个不同的语言, okay? And one of the languages was the language of long forgotten Babylon. Long forgotten Babylon. Now, in this case, long forgotten Babylon is Babylon. Long forgotten means that people have forgotten about Babylon a long, long, long time already. Because Babylon is 古时代的一个王国. It's a kingdom of long, long, long ago. Going on. This was a great opportunity, and Rawlinson was excited. This was a great opportunity, and Rawlinson was excited. Now, this is interesting in a way because why would an army officer, 他是军官, why would he be interested? Why would he be interested? Well, some people like ancient things. They like ancient stories. They like to imagine these old, old things. So he enjoyed ancient languages. So obviously he was not the average person. 不是普通的人，不是平凡的人. He enjoyed 古时代的语言. Actually, I myself have studied Greek, ancient Greek, and also Hebrew, 希伯来语. So I've studied some ancient languages myself. I enjoy ancient languages. I enjoy understanding the stories of long, long, long ago. So he enjoyed ancient languages and realized, okay, 意识到, he realized that he was the first European to see this. 他意识到他是同一个欧洲人, European, to 见到这些雕塑, okay, and the words that were written on the rock up high. Okay, now it's on a cliff. We still don't know how high the cliff is, or we don't know anything about it, but stay by because we will find out how high the cliff is. At the first opportunity, Henry began to examine the cliff. At the first opportunity simply means 同一个机会. Maybe to start with, he didn't have an opportunity, but when he had an opportunity, he began to examine 检查 the cliff. He is going to try to see what it's all about. He wanted to get up there and copy the inscriptions. What does it mean? He wanted to get up there. That means he wanted to climb up there. To get up there means to climb up there and copy the inscriptions. Copy the inscriptions. Copy 要抄写. Okay, 这些文字, the inscriptions, the words that were inscribed or written up there. Okay, going on. Just below the writing was a ledge. Okay, maybe I can get rid of this just for a minute. Okay, so here you have the sculpture, 这个雕塑, and it's up there. And then you have writing, okay, and just below the sculpture, what do you have? You have a ledge. Now imagine that this is the cliff, okay, and here is a ledge. You can walk on the ledge. It's just a wide piece. Well, in this case, it was only 14 inches wide. 14 inches wide. Let's see. look very carefully. This is about 14 inches wide. Now 14 inches wide is, okay, if you're standing right here, standing on the ground, and you can stand on 14 inches and say, no problem. I'm having no problem at all. But if the ledge is up 850 feet, you look down and say, whoa, now that's a long, long ways. If you fell down, you would hurt yourself. Well, it would kill you. I mean, you couldn't live. It would be very, very dangerous to be up there. Okay, going on. While Henry's regiment, okay, regiment is a group of people, military people, a group of soldiers in the army. So while Henry's regiment went about their work, they were working, I don't know what they were working at, he had some of his soldiers help him climb up to the ledge, and he began copying the writings. Okay, so in this case, he had some of his soldiers, 他的士兵，一些他的士兵帮助他爬上去 850 feet all the way up on the ledge, and he began to 抄写所有的这个铭文啊，他的文字，he began to write the writings. Go ahead. It was a daring feat. Okay, it was a daring feat. Okay, 勇敢的事情，勇敢的 a daring feat， 勇敢的事情 to work so high above the ground, 85 stories up. 85 stories mean, we usually in English, in America, we considered a story as 一层楼. So 850 feet would be 85层楼，这么高. Now that's a long, long ways up. If you were in a building on the 85th floor, 第85层啊, whoa, and you look out, what would you think? Oh, now that is a long, long ways up in the air. And here he is, he's on this cliff, and he's just like this, and he's working up there. I mean, he's copying. You can't lean out. Why? Because you're going to fall off. Going on. When he worked on the writings that were higher up, he put a ladder on the narrow ledge. Whoa! Whoa! I mean, you put a ladder up there, wow. That's这个斜度不够. I mean, it doesn't have enough of an angle. I'm sure that they must have had a rope kind of holding him up there, but still, it's very, very dangerous. And so they put a ladder up on the narrow ledge. Going on. But he had to use a swing. Okay, now, what is a swing? Do you know what a swing is? Have you ever swung on a swing? You love that, right? To swing on a swing, swung on a swing. Okay, he had to use a swing, 抽签. Okay, that's something to hold him, to let him down from above. So he's on this swing, and they let it 掉到下面. Okay, that 为的要 what? In order to copy the highest portion, 最高的部分，他就是要这样。Can you imagine 古时代人家这样雕刻，哇，这个不简单啊。I mean, this was a long, it was really something very, well, it was a daring feat, even for the people who originally did it. Going on, he had to use the swing to let him down from above in order to copy the highest portion. Go ahead. In between his army duties, that means, of course, he had his army, 他有这个军队的责任, so he had to do his work, his army work, 他军队的工作. But in between, 之间, he spent parts of the next 4 years. 4 years. Okay? 一部分, 4 years, parts of making a copy of the inscriptions, 的雕刻的这些东西的文字. 4 years, writing, copying, comparing, checking, proofreading, all of the things that he wrote down. All this time, 这4年, he was risking his life from falling down into the chasm. Chasm is like a hole in the ground. A chasm is not just a hole, but it's a big, wide opening. And if you fall down to the very bottom of this. And he was risking his life. 冒他的生命的险. Going on. But Henry wasn't finished even after he copied the writing. 他抄写所雕刻的文字还没有完成. That's not all. He worked the most of the next 18 years. He used 18 more years. 还要利用18年, okay, on deciphering. Okay? Okay, what is deciphering? 解释 or 解码. Decipher, 解码, deciphering this. It took him 18 years to decipher all of these things. Whoa! Now that is being pretty faithful to your task. 相当忠心于, this is probably, could you say it's his hobby? Yeah, this is his hobby, 他的爱好. And because he liked ancient languages, remember? That's what we said. Going on. And he did most of his work out in the field without the aid of reference books. Okay, now this is very interesting because now we have libraries. Yeah, we have big libraries, and of course we have the internet. 现在我们也有这个网路. But during this time, he was out in the field. That means 他不在城市, 不在人间, out in the field. Well, literally, it's more than just 田里. It just means that he was out away from civilization. He was out away from people with libraries and obviously, and he 没有办法用这个 reference books. A reference book is a book to help you understand something. A reference book. Okay? So he didn't have any other books to help him. 没有参考书. 没有参考书. Go ahead. When he finished deciphering, okay, the rock, obviously this is a rock, 这个是一个很大的这个岩石. It's not even a 石板, this is a 岩石. Okay, when he finished deciphering 解码完毕, he unlocked, 他这解开, okay, for the world, 给全世界, gave the whole world what? The cuneiform writing of ancient Babylon. You know what cuneiform, cuneiform? It's made out of little triangles. Triangles. This is cuneiform. And it was very difficult. I've looked at them. One of my teachers was able to read some of that, but not me. Cuneiform is a very difficult language, and he was able to 解开他有办法解码. Okay, of ancient Babylon. This is ancient Babylon, 古时代的巴比伦啊. Before this, the history of Babylon was known only from the Bible. Actually, 还没有解开这个Behistun Rock, the only source of history was the Bible. This was the only source of history. 那人家就说，哎呀，这个可靠吗? But afterwards, they discovered that the story of the Bible about Babylon was the same story that they were now able to read on many, many rocks. With that, we finished our lesson, and we can tell you that you can write to us. 我们的电邮的地址是 theoldprinciple@gmail.com. 我们的网站的地址是 www.theoldprinciple.org. Hey, it's been great to be with you, and I hope that you will join us next time.